Welcome to TYT Interviews, another great interview for you guys. When is it not a great interview, right? Russell Brand. Now, this is a guy who needs no introduction. Now, that's when people then introduce him, right? They always say that, and then they say, oh, you know, sorry for getting Marshall, la la, blah, 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 blah. Okay, he does a YouTube show as well, by the way, the Trews. It's fantastic. It's on youtube.com/Russell Brand, and he just came out with a book called Revolution. So, Russell, welcome back to the Young Turks. How are you, brother?
Cenk, I'm very happy to be on Young Turks. I'm very happy to be talking with you. Thanks for having me.
All right. So you've been in 1,000 beefs since the book came out. I want to talk about all those in a second. But first, revolution. That sounds fun. Tell us what the book's about and tell us how we're going to start the revolution.
The book is about our need for alternative systems. The book is about how the system we have now, the political system, the economic system that we have now, cannot provide the solution to the problems that we have because the system we have now doesn't regard this situation as a problem. This system is designed to behave in the way that it currently is, creating inequality, creating ecological meltdown and ignoring it, causing disparity and conflict among ordinary people. If we're going to change it, we need to create new systems, we need to think in new ways, communicate in new ways, and co-opt these systems and make them work to our advantage. I spoke to numerous experts, some of the greatest academics living, some of the most innovative thinkers alive, got their ideas, put them in a book, made it funny. Bob's your uncle, as we say in my country.
Okay. Now, a lot of people disagree. Donald Trump, Piers Morgan, Johnny Rotten. We'll get to Johnny Rotten in a second.
What?
From Sex Pistols.
Morgan, some of the world's finest minds and greatest men. Tell me Donald Trump's on side. That was a joke, right, Cenk? All my life, I've been waiting for the moment where I'd get Donald Trump's approval, where both Donald and the cloud of hair that floats immediately above him would simultaneously endorse me. Is that day not today?
Apparently not, Russell. Sorry to inform you. All right, you know what? Let's have a little bit of fun then. Among these three, who do you dislike the most? Donald Trump, Sean Hannity, or Piers Morgan?
Oh, that's good, isn't it? Out of Trump, Hannity, and Morgan. Well, look, Morgan is from my country, and, you know, actually, I know him on a personal level, and he ain't that bad. Trump, do you know what? They're all human beings, and they're all right. And it's all, for them, it's just like a game. It's a media game. I'm sure Sean Hannity, if you spoke to him, is probably a decent human being. I bet he loves his family or whatever the hell he's got instead of one. I'm sure he does. And like, what I think is, look, this is more important than daft individuals and all of our, you know, peculiar and particular egos. Either we require change. Either in America, the 6 Walmart heirs have as much money as the 150 million lowest earning Americans, or they don't. Either we're facing ecological meltdown, or we're not. Either we have a system that works entirely for corporations and doesn't represent the people, or we don't. You and I know, mate, that the answer to those quandaries that I just posed is that we are living in the face of massive corruption. We ain't got time to worry about Sean Hannity, Donald Trump, or anybody else, or even me. The ideas are the ideas. The truth is the truth. That's what's important.
Well, you know, the problem is, of course, mainstream media, and in this case, Piers Morgan has switched over from being establishment media in the U.S. to back to being establishment media in the U.K., is trying to make sure that people don't listen to you and don't listen to the Occupy movement, don't listen to us, etc. So that's why he says such things as, and this is a quote from Morgan, this whole revolution he's trying to wage, referring to you, is a load of old, sanctimonious hogwash. So you've got to respond to that so that people understand who's right and who's wrong. So how do you respond?
How I respond is, you are a human being, you're alive in the world, you know what you're entitled to. You have seen the corruption. You've seen the speaker in your house offering bribes to tobacco lobbyists. You've seen the result of the last election, the promises of yes, we can and change. You've seen what's being delivered. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about Piers Morgan. Worry about the truth, because this is not a situation that's going to be solved by a glamorous individual like me or a perhaps more wretched and porcine one. It's one that's going to be resolved by all of us coming together, regardless of our superficial differences, which I would say include gender, sexual persuasion, religion and race. Ordinary people all over the world have got to come together to confront this corrupt system, this unedifying spectacle of a tiny elite tyrannizing the rest of us.
So we've talked in the past about how people can come together to start this political revolution that you're talking about. You know, people get really mad at you when you say voting is a waste of time. And I know that you've clarified by saying if there was someone good to vote for, you'd be happy to do it. And that's the essence of the beef that you have with Johnny Rotten. But my question is a little bit more specific. So people come together, then what happens? Like, how does the revolution, in your mind, actually unfold?
By organising pragmatically. It always makes me laugh when people sort of think that we're like naughty little children, those of us that reject the system. The way that the system currently works, there are trade agreements where the same amount of beef is imported and exported from America, hundreds of millions of tons of beef. In the agricultural industry, we ignore the UN's findings that localised organic agriculture can provide the entire world's food needs, feed everybody, because that is a truth that doesn't suit Monsanto. Throughout the health industry, we ignore discoveries in medicine, in pharmaceuticals, and in surgical practice to maintain an economic stasis that supports the industries that benefit financially from things being the way they are. All we do, mate, is we strip away the nonsense. We have in place the systems that we require. We have the infrastructure. We just don't have the will. We don't have the correct ideology. What we need to change to is a system of economic fairness, spiritual interconnectivity. That just means being nice to other people and just starting on the basis of love instead of selfishness and greed, and move forward on that basis. Well, what does that mean in practical terms, Russell? I'll tell you. If your house is being foreclosed, if you're paying too much for your mortgage, if at your place of work you're unhappy, you're not being fairly paid, you're not being given the right kind of insurance, organise with the people that you work with. There's no reason at all why we, the people of the earth, at this time, have to be tyrannised by global corporations, ignored by mainstream politics, and lied to by the mainstream media. They can't do it if we don't cooperate. They can't do it when we disobey.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Here in this country, the Supreme Court has decided that corporations have inalienable rights endowed by their creator. Wait a minute, we're their creator. So we're living in a science fiction movie where we created these robots. They just happen to be in the form of legal entities called corporations. We programmed the robots to make as much profit as humanly and non-humanly possible, right? And then we let them loose in the world, and they allowed them to buy our government through buying our politicians, and then turn around and said, oh no, they now have inalienable rights endowed by their creator. I mean, it's amazing, but you know that, I know that, anybody who actually looks into it, Russell, knows that. The problem is that the media either A, doesn't know it or doesn't want to know it, or B, is part of those same corporate robots. They're all giant corporations. So
yes.
How do we get beyond that? Because it seems like the media is such an enormous part of the problem.
Well, we are the media. We're the media right now. And whilst we may have a situation where Comcast are buying Time Warner to potentially become the biggest media organisation in history, more powerful than anything conceivable under the worst days of the Soviet Union, there are also people like you and people like me and thousands and thousands and thousands of people like us, and we all have a voice, and the technology exists now. Sometimes when I'm down, mate, I take heart in the fact of knowing how hard they work to maintain this system, how hard they work on their propaganda, how hard they work on their commerce, on holding together this illusion, this veil, the military force, the police force, the transference of military equipment to local police authorities. This is because they know that as soon as we make a decision to confront, as soon as we make a decision to disobey, ordinary Americans, ordinary English people, unified with one another against corporations, against this massive inequality, against this ecological meltdown, on the most simple level of growing your own food, running your own workspaces, paying reasonable amounts for the places where you live, then they have no power. Their power is imaginary. I guess we've got to get to the point where we feel like the police force and military aren't going to act as henchmen for these corporations. But I think we can get to that point. I think we're getting closer to that point.
So I know that for us at the Young Turks, we think the key issue is money in politics, because that's the one that affects everything else, right? That allows them to buy off the politicians on the environment, everything else. And that's why we started Wolfpack. Because if you can just get a constitutional amendment, rewrite the program, rewrite the code, fix the code so that we get our representatives back, we think that's the right answer. For you, I mean, you talk about in the book the environmental issues, the money in politics, the enormous income inequality. Janet Yellen, by the way, agrees with you. The new head of the Federal Reserve gave a speech last Friday talking about how income inequality is at record levels, and this is what happens before enormous recessions and depressions, as happened right before the Great Depression
and
as well.
Revolutions.
Right.
Did you mention specific? And Russell, I mean, I've got to say, Russell Brand's been pretty good on this subject. If you buy his book, Revolution, all you need to know on the topic of inequality and how to address it.
Right.
So I mean, look, everybody.
But out of all those issues, Russell, which do you think is the most important? And if you could get somebody watching this video to do one thing, what would it be?
Homes and food. Control your home, control your food. The basics. But I dig your money out of politics thing. I think that's a fantastic start. I would support that wholeheartedly. But for me, everybody's got the right to have a home. Everybody's got the right to eat healthy food. What are the things that prevent that from happening? What are the financial barriers? What are the fake, erroneous, corruptive systems that prevent us eating healthy food, that prevent us from living in sensible, helpful, decent, human rights style shelter?
So how would they do that? What does that mean to protect their home or to protect their food?
Well, mate, this is where people have to act on a local level. Say that I stop paying my mortgage on my own, I'm going to get arrested. If I find out who else down my street doesn't want to pay their mortgage either, because they also think it's unfair that banks are being quantitatively eased to the tune of trillions and trillions of dollars while ordinary people are financially persecuted. If I find enough people like me that's not going to pay their mortgage, not going to pay their tax, not vote, not participate, walk into supermarkets en masse, take food to feed their families. If you do that en masse, that will make a difference. Organise yourselves, collectivise in your workplaces, collectivise in your communities. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not like setting myself up as I'm the guy that's going to organise a global revolution. That seems like a lot of pressure. I'm still reeling from the success of forgetting Sarah Marshall. I'm happy with that. What I'm saying is I'll be involved in my way. Everyone should be involved in their own way.
So, of course, one of the criticisms they level at you is speaking of the movies, oh, you're just a Hollywood liberal. First of all, is Hollywood liberal?
No. It's a part of the machine, an important part of the machine at that. No, Hollywood isn't liberal. Now, what I would say is it doesn't matter. Like, just say, all right, this guy's a Hollywood liberal. He's saying this for his own reasons. Believe that if you want to. It doesn't matter. Soon, I, like all human beings, will be dead, and the truth will still be the truth.
Okay. Now, I hear what you're saying. So I love when conservatives say, we hate Hollywood liberals, and they're just actors. And by the way, our hero is Ronald Reagan, a Hollywood actor. Okay. Now, and of course, Hollywood is run by giant corporations, so that's the point you're alluding to. But is there something about being an actor that on the whole does tend to make you more liberal? And if that's the case, why is that, you think?
I don't know. I don't think that it matters, Cenk, to be honest. I don't think it matters. This isn't me, Russell, the actor. This is me, Russell, from an ordinary blue-collar town, grown up, got the things I told would make me happy, met lots of beautiful women, earned money, got famous, and then going back to the place I'm from, Grays in Essex, which is so that you have a reference point in America, like Camden, New Jersey. Maybe not that bad. I don't know. I've not been to Camden, New Jersey. But, it's a tough place. I went back there and it's got worse and worse and worse. And the people there think that the problem is immigration or people that are slightly different than them. And when I know, and you know, and all of us know, that if there's a group of people haven't got any money and power, it's because somewhere else there's a smaller group of people with a lot of money and power. So this isn't as an actor. You might be listening because I'm an actor, but I'm speaking as a person.
All right, and finally, lay out for me what the ultimate goal here is. Not goal, but vision, right? So, for example, what's nirvana for you? We win, and the world looks like this.
Get rid of unnecessary institutions. Get rid of unnecessary systems. Live a life that is ordinary and practical. If people need food, get food to them. If food can be grown locally, grow food locally. If people need to have some sort of spiritual structures and some interconnectivity, then have it. Don't set up a load of unnecessary institutions, administration and bureaucracy that is solely designed to make rich people richer and disempower poor people. We already know how to live. We know what makes us happy. Family, friends. The systems are already in place. Yes, we can start to explore the enormous capacities of human beings for greatness, for further greatness, what will happen when we unify globally. But let's just focus on the basics. Let's live ordinary lives where we can have houses, where we can have access to food, where we can work less time, where we can spend less of our time being bludgeoned into submission by an imaginary economy so that a small group of people can get richer and richer. It's not like we need to create new stuff, although that will be part of it. Mostly we need to get rid of all of the nonsense.
Perfect. Russell Brand. Everybody check out the Trews, youtube.com/Russell Brand. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Young Turks. True News.